Are you about to rent a new place? Well, before you sign that dotted line, Jonas Bardo, he's the CEO and co-founder of Dwellsy, and he has a few tips for you to keep in mind. He joined me recently. And Jonas, thank you for joining me today. Now, in my short adult life, I've signed a number of leases, and I know they can be quite lengthy and complex. So why is it so important to know what's in the lease before moving into our new place?
Yeah, everybody in the excitement of getting a new place kind of rushes through the lease, but the reality of it is this is a legal contract that sets the terms of probably your biggest expense of any year. Your average rent in the Augusta area is about $1,400 for a three-bedroom apartment, for a three-bedroom house. That's a lot of money. You're talking about, $16,000, $17,000 over the coming year. And you don't want to get surprised by anything. So it's really critically important to understand all the terms in that legal contract that you're signing.
And Jonas, you mentioned there are 13 important rules that we got to make sure we know before signing that lease. So what are one or two of those rules that kind of stands out that folks need to pay attention to?
The first and I think the most important is know how much you're on the hook to pay. Everybody pretty much knows their rent going into it, but there could be a lot of other expenses in that lease. For example, there could be utilities costs. Are those something that you're on the hook for, or is the landlord covering those? That's an important expense. It can be 20% or more of your rent. So that's a big potential expense. Other things like parking or pet fees, late fees, other things like that, really understanding all of the different things that you might have to pay depending on how you choose to live in your new home. They can really add up. So understanding those costs, I would say, is number one.
And what are some of those surprises for new renters? I know you mentioned some of those fees not too long ago. So would that be some of the surprises for the new renters?
Yeah, 100%. Oftentimes when you're a new renter, you don't really know what to expect. You haven't, rented a few times before. And even if you have, there's a lot of new fees that landlords are testing out right now. I think one of the challenges we've had in our society over the last couple of years is, extra baggage fees and all sorts of things. And that has extended into the rental space as well. So you really need to take a look at for what those might be. For example, you could see elevator usage fees, if you're moving in or moving out. I've seen fees for notices. If the landlord has to give you a notice because you're in violation of your lease for whatever reason, there's a fee for that sometimes. There's a host of different new fees. And so really being aware of those and understanding the full cost of your lease is critical.
So what are there some things that I don't necessarily like in that lease? Can I maybe negotiate with my landlord? How does that work?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the things that most renters overlook is the fact that every lease is negotiable. And sometimes it's, you're moving in and you want to get something that you might not have seen on the surface. Maybe you need a second parking spot. Maybe you have a dog that is not often welcome in apartment communities and you need to be able to negotiate that. There's all sorts of things that you might want to negotiate for. But in particular, I think it's a really good thing that you point out, Sean. If you see a lease term that you don't like for whatever reason, you should try to negotiate that. And some of those are very negotiable. Often the lease is written in a very standard way, and it doesn't take into consideration your unique needs or even, frankly, exactly what the landlord wants to have happen.
So what if I want to lower my lease amount and, sometimes they will give you a special for maybe moving in or they'll offer to extend your lease a little bit. Should we go with those options?
Yeah, it's a great point. One of the things that the landlord is most concerned about is what's called base rent. And that's, what the standard rent is for the apartment. And sometimes you'll get a month free or something like that. And that can be applied in a few different ways. If it actually reduces the base rent, that can be a real advantage to you because that then goes into your renewals in future lease terms. Whereas if it's not affecting the base rent, so if your base rent is $1,500 and that free month doesn't change that, you just get that free month up front. Of course, that's nice to get that discount, but it's a little bit better if you can negotiate that into a monthly reduction and actually reduce the base rent.
And why would you say timing is critical?
Timing is critical for a few different reasons. Number one, this is a race. Getting an apartment is a race. It's not like a college application where the landlord gets all of the applications and picks the best one. For a whole host of reasons, the landlord generally picks the first inquiry that comes in to respond to first. They pick the first application that's approved to notify folks first. And then they take whoever signs the lease first, and that's their place. So you really do want to move quickly. But that doesn't mean you can't negotiate. Just make sure you're negotiating in haste and you're really not wasting any time or taking a couple of days to get back to the landlord. Time is not on your side in the rental game. You really want to move fast.
And I appreciate Jonas for joining us. We have more information on WJBF.com, including the biggest takeaways and how you can grab his book, Everything You Need to Know About Renting But Didn't Ask.